Hi, I'm Luke O'Nien. I'm a professional footballer for Wycombe Wanderers Football Club and I'm here today with BTS.
So you've been in the academy system since 7 years old, was it?
Correct, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you got scouted and how it's been how it was at the academy.
So I started playing football when I was 4 years of age, and I was at a team called Hemel Hempstead Town. It's where I live, it's where I'm from, and my dad actually was the manager of the team. My brother was also, who's 2 years older than me, was playing in the same team, so I kind of used to play 2 years up now and again, where I think that's kind of good for me because you don't really take into account age. Everyone's quite similar size, so I was exposed to kind of high level football quite early, and I adapted very well. And I was there for about 4 till 7, and then my brother got scouted, went into the Watford system. He was in the Watford academy, and they let me go along. So I used to train with my brother and his year. And then when it came to the under-9s, I think I was 7 years of age. I was at Watford Academy and I was there 13 years.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the transition from being in the academy to the first team.
Oh, wow.
That's obviously quite a difficult period. How did that go?
That was, for me, a very hard transition. It's something that you think about when you're growing up, that transition to the first team. It's a huge step for anyone, and it was a big step for me. I still remember those days very clearly. My first taste of first team experience was when I got my first professional contract. We had a 3-week tour to Italy. We had Gianfranco Zola as the manager as well, who was a Premiership legend.
Of course, yeah.
So it's kind of weird because I was a little boy. I was quite small as well. Still, I wasn't fully matured. I was nowhere near being fully matured. So I was quite a small, shy character, and going into the first team was a huge step up. Not for many reasons. The intensities of training. You're surrounded by no one your age anymore. You're playing with people who are 30 years and older, and you're expected to play at those standards straight away. So that transition for me was, I remember it still very clearly. It was a huge, it played a huge part in my development, but it was nowhere near easy. It was very, very hard.
At what age did you break in?
So I remember being in the scholarship system, so 16 to 18, and then when the first team, we used to train parallel to each other. So whenever they were short players, used to dip in and out, which was good. I remember being put a lot of pressure on myself because you're keen to impress. The players around you were very fast. I can remember the first training sessions we used to warm up with something called a rondo, where it's just a circle with 2 people in the middle, and whoever gives it away goes in. I was just constantly in the middle just because the guys were so fast. Yeah. But then it was incredible because that has a knock-on effect because you knew you were going in the middle a lot. So in my mind, I was making that a lot more than it actually was because I'm going into the middle all the time, feel like I'm being judged constantly, and then the ball coming to you again, you're like, just giving it away, then give it away again, then give it away again. So it's it was very difficult because that was just the start of the session, and going into the session was it kind of carried on at that intensity. And youth team intensities don't match the first team intensities, so the step up is you're gonna make mistakes. But when you go from doing really well in your age group and being, I don't know, one of the best in your age groups, and then going to the first team, being right at the back of the line, it's kind of a massive hit to your ego maybe, to who you are, because you're now at the back, and that's a good place to be. You don't really see that as a youngster, because as a youngster you always want to be the best, and when you're nowhere near that, that can be sometimes one of the hardest steps to take. But once you kind of accept it and think it's like a normal process, then it's fine. But at the time I didn't understand that was a process. I kind of thought that I was the only one in that system, and I was the only one thinking the things I was thinking at the time. So I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and everyone has that. Some people can't cope, and that's why they maybe drop out of the game. But when you're in that, when I was in that loop, I can't speak for other people because that's for them to say, but I remember being in in that environment and thinking I was the only one like that.
Okay.
But when you kind of get talking to people, especially older, because football, it's got what I am, it's just guys everywhere, and I don't think guys ever talk about emotions, so you never really understand what other people are really feeling and things like that. It's just you, and you're the only one there.
You just crack on with it, or...
You have bands with the boys, but you never talk about kind of the struggles you have, because I don't think that's the environment that it is. So I was lucky that I managed to cope with things. I got good family, anything around who I could speak to, and you form good relationships in football. And I formed some relationship with senior players, and they helped get me through that kind of transition period.
Okay. And when you're saying you were training with these first team boys, everyone did that, or some of you were selected to go through, and how was that?
So when I was 16 to 18, at 18 you get told whether you get if you're going to get a contract or not. So we must have had about 8 boys, and I remember all of us, we got told what day we were going to get told we're getting a contract or not. And the day before, a piece of paper went up on the wall and it had our times of our meetings, and I was the last one in. So we all got to the car park at 8:30, and one by one I was the only one left in the car park. But then I was listening to boys come out and they're like, no, I didn't get a contract. And I was like, oh, sorry to him, mate. And he'll drive to the car park, probably wouldn't see him. Well, I haven't seen a couple of them since that day. And then I went in, and I was 2 of 8 people to get told I was getting a contract. So I was actually friends with this guy from under 10s all the way through. So it was nice having someone like that come through with me. But he was the only one, so it was just us 2 out
There's
there.
only 2 of you that end up getting. So I know, because I've got a little brother in under 9s, and there's like 40 of them in an academy. So as the years go on, these groups are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I was the very first person in my age group to get signed, and I was the only one from under 9s to stay throughout the whole system, all the way to professional. So I saw people come in, I saw them get released, I see new people come in, I see them get released. So I was fortunate that I managed to stay in the cycle. But equally, I've seen kids that got released as well. That doesn't mean it's the end of the cycle, because I've seen kids who got released from Watford and then got to sign at Tottenham, or kids who got released at Watford. Maybe
and that happened straight after. So they got released, they found out they didn't get a Watford contract, and then they approached Tottenham, or?
I know when I've been out of contract before, it's not the easiest thing getting told you're getting released. But I know I'm a firm believer in, if you're good enough, you'll get to where you get to, as long as you carry on putting in the hard work. So I've seen a lot of kids who are very, very good, and then when they get released, for not to go into a team, but I know that they didn't carry on putting the work, when they got released, that was a massive hit to them, and they stopped putting the work in.
But they're putting the work in, as in they're training, they're still eating good, they're carrying on that cycle, but where did they go? Who helped them?
So I think when I got released, I can only speak from personal points of view as well, is that you're in the system and you tend to get looked after. I know as well that there are trial games at the end of each season where anyone who's been released can go to these trial games, and everyone plays a game. You just get put into teams, and you have loads of scouts come down to watch, and if they like you, they give you trials. But there's always lots of opportunities to go into trials, and then once you're in the trial, it's just all down to you and what you do, and if you're impressed, then you get a contract. If you don't, then you move on to the next one.
Nice.
So on that, actually, about you said you being released, how did you deal with that period? How did you...
It was a very odd period for me. To be honest with you, I was at Watford 13 years, so from 7 to 20.
So it must have kind of felt like home then, actually.
It was like home,
Yeah.
which has its benefits but also has its disadvantages, and because sometimes you can get too comfortable and you want to always be out of your comfort zones. But when I got released, it was a weird period for me, because I was there 13 years, so I knew my contract was coming up to an end. I was 2 years there professional, and I loved my time there, and I got on all really well with everyone. But then as my contract was coming to an end, I was speaking to them about my contract. I was like, listen, am I getting a contract? If not, then I've got to go look after myself and go elsewhere.
Of course.
and it was kind of like I got told that I was going to be okay, just carry on coming in. Anyway, the season finished, and I couldn't keep coming in because everyone was gone. I was going to be okay because I can go off other people's word. And then 2 weeks after the season finished, my dad came home and he told me I got released.
Wow.
So it was disappointing that you can be at a club 13 years and maybe not even get called into a meeting and get told, come on, this is what you need to work on, and here's a plan for you, we're going to help you and things like that, because you kind of get thrown into a bit of the deep end there because the season finished, so I had no opportunity to go elsewhere to try and get signed into a club. Everyone was on holiday.
Okay.
So for them to phone an agent who phoned my dad to come home and tell me it's a little bit disrespectful in some ways, but that's just football for you. You kind of got to learn that you've got a small team, you've got a few people who will help you, but you learn in that period that the people that always say they're going to help you, you start to see if they really mean it, because in that time when everyone was on holiday, I was unemployed. I had no one because everyone was on holiday on the beach, and so I had to wait until a week or two before the season was commencing for a phone call.
Okay.
So being on holiday, having no one to go back to, or having kind of an identity, because when you've been in the game that long, football's kind of your identity, it's who I am. So for someone to kind of strip that away, I think I was fortunate at an age where I could handle it. Maybe being young, being at school, you're kind of given that identity as the footballer.
Yeah. So
it could have been a big hit to the ego when you're a kid, but I was at an age where I believed in myself. I knew what I was capable of. I knew where I could go, and it was just a matter of waiting for an opportunity, and that's what I did. The holidays finished, and I got a phone call from Wycombe Wanderers that I could go in pre-season to train with them. And I went in the first day of pre-season, and they said they wanted to sign me after the second day. Okay. So in that off-season, I kind of worked blind. I knew that I was going to have an opportunity, but that summer I worked hard. I didn't have a rest. I was doing one-to-ones with this coach who I know, and he trained me most days. And when that first day of pre-season came around, I was ready for every fitness test, every sprint, every. I was just ready to take my chance, and I did, and I'm still there today.
So was that phone call set up by your agent, or how does that work?
So when you're in football, I was in the system for 13 years, so people know about you.
Yeah, of course.
So when I was at Watford, I went on loan to Wolverstone. I was 18 and they're in the Conference South. Yeah. So I played 40 games there, and I built up a good reputation. And the manager I knew really well, and I got really well with him. And he knew the Wycombe manager. Okay. So he kind of he put in a good word, as did a few other people as well. Some from Watford. So it's just kind of the collection of a lot of people putting in good words. And when the opportunity came along, I didn't need another one because I took that one right there. So yeah, very grateful for what the Wolverstone manager did for me, because he gave me not only experience of 40 games in the Conference South, which put me in perfect position for Wycombe, but when Wycombe did come around, he helped me get the opportunity, and then gave me the invaluable experience the year before, which put me in perfect condition for League Two, because very similar styles of football.
Physical game at that level.
Conference South was, yeah, because I went from playing under 21s football at Watford, where it's, you know, we get the ball, we're going to play, and that's nice football, and then going to Conference South, I remember my first game we played, I can't remember who we played against, but the pitch just had potholes everywhere. There was, I could probably count the blades of grass. The change rooms were like this. Yeah. And I remember after 5 minutes I was dribbling and I just got snapped. Yeah. I just got folded in half, and I was just like, wow. I just remember getting off the floor thinking, this is proper football. And from what I learned in that period of time was just perfect for me.
The lads that I know that go to watch those kind of games, the lower league games, they always call it proper football. Yeah. Is the culture different, I guess, at that level?
Yeah, it was different. Yeah. You get some good players down there, like you can see it, people like even lower than Conference South, you got Billericay who've got ex-Premiership stars.
Yeah.
So you get some very good players down there.
Mm-hmm.
But equally, the game's not as pretty as the ones you'll see on TV.
Yeah.
I've played games where the ball didn't touch the floor for half an hour, and then you're expected to. I was 18 years of age. I was like 5'3" and a stick.
Yeah.
And then you're expected to win all these balls in the air. And if you don't, you're not going to get picked. So you have no choice but to find ways to
adapt.
Yeah, you've got to adapt. And I had good people around, really experienced people that used to play at high levels. So I was playing alongside these guys. These guys give me plenty of advice all the time, but it was a scrap a lot of the time. But that was perfect because I remember playing at Willstone. I could still come back and play in the 21s football with Watford.
Okay.
And there was this one period where I played 20 games for Willstone. I came back and played an under 21s game of football the next week for Watford.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, the game was just easy because I had so much more time on the ball. At Willstone, you get the ball, someone's coming straight through the back of you.
Yeah.
Whether your leg's there or not, they're coming through the back of you. I was coming away with stub marks everywhere. But that was them, and then they'll pick you up and they'll be giving you a bit in the ear and saying, "I'm coming for you again." And you know, as a kid, that toughens you up.
Yeah.
You've got no choice. You either survive or you don't survive.
Sure.
But then going back to under 21s football, I was going around with the same intensity as Willstone games. So I was going around tackling people, putting people on the grass.
Yeah.
And then taking the ball away, and then still having the quality because I had more time.
Of course.
So I had more time to pick the right decisions. So I could tell from that 20 games at Willstone that what I was learning was perfect. And then I played 14, and that put me in a great place for the league because the league very similar.
So tell us a bit about your day to day.
So I'll be at Wycombe most of the week. Sometimes we have 2 games a week, depending on how the fixtures lie and if there's any games called off or cup games. So the games will either fall on Tuesday and Saturday, and the rest of the week is kind of tailored around that. So day before games we train a little bit lighter. Days after games will be kind of recoveries. If we've had a lot of games throughout the week, the manager will give us a day off. But when there isn't a game midweek, then we can kind of look to increase intensity during the week and look to build. Sometimes throughout the week as well, I do one-to-ones privately with my friends who feel like if you want to do more, you gotta, and in games you got to do extra as well. So a couple of times a week I train one-to-one with my friend in the mornings before Wycombe. And then throughout the week it's all about getting ready for the games. So some people, well, you've got to look after your body, so if you're feeling a little bit tight from the game, you might need an extra day's rest, but it's all about getting that body in perfect condition for the games on the weekend.
And when you're saying you ease off the day before a game, is that more mental preparation, and you mean you're easing off physical preparation for the game, or?
Yes, maybe physical preparation, the physical workload will go down and the mental preparation increases. Don't get me wrong, you're preparing mentally all the time for games, but in terms of the visualisation of what you want to do in games becomes a bit stronger. But equally, yeah, the day before a game you want to hit kind of high intensities because you want to be as fresh as you can for the game on Saturdays.
Nice.
Well, right now you're at Wycombe,
yeah.
And obviously your focus is going to be on winning the league or perhaps winning playoffs. But aside from that, what would you do? What do you want to do going forward?
Football is my job and I love it, and I want to get to the top. So one day I want to be playing in the Premier League.
Of course, yeah.
So every day I'm working towards that goal. I've loved my time at Wycombe and I continue to give everything for them. But I'm learning so much at Wycombe that's putting me in a perfect place for my development where I hope to get to my dream one day. But equally I want to experience all these things because I want to become a perfect coach in terms of I've experienced, for example, this last season I broke my leg, so I know what it's like to come back from injury. I've experienced the highs and lows in football. I've had times I've sat in a room crying, I feel like the worst player in the world, but then I've had the opposite where I felt like $1 million. So it was all about consistency.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to experience everything, so when I do go into coaching, I can say to players, listen, I'm speaking from personal experience here. I know how you felt in these situations, I can recommend doing this. But if I've experienced everything, then I feel like I'm in more of a position to give advice to other people. Because I've had coaches that give me advice that's never played the game. Don't get me wrong, I still value their experience, but you can't sit down and for them to really understand what you're going through.
Of course, yeah.
But for me, I've cried in football. I've had great moments in football, so I wanna do everything. If that makes sense.
Okay, so coaching is definitely the next step for you then.
Yeah, I do coaching on Wednesdays. My friend's got an academy called the Ben Hur Performance Academy,
Okay.
and I take a team every Wednesday and I coach the boys. So we're looking to get them back into professional football.
Oh, okay.
So the kids that
Come out of the academy system.
we're looking to develop them and then put them back into the first team environment, get professional contracts,
Okay.
and it's just as rewarding as playing football.
Okay.
Coaching is one of the most enjoyable things.
In terms of you saying you want to develop the players, how do you feel like there could be more? Do you feel like there could be more English players at the top level, and do you feel like the development system could be better?
Well, the Premiership, they're just recruiting who the best players are. And
Yeah.
if the best players are foreign, then they're going to recruit them. Equally, if the players, I'm just speaking from the outside, if the players are better here than abroad, then they wouldn't need to go abroad. Teams want to win.
Yeah,
So
of course.
if a guy is scoring goals and goals and goals in Brazil like Jesus, Man City are going to buy him. Maybe they wouldn't have bought him if they had a goal scorer scoring. Yeah, so would I like to see more English players? Of course you would. You'd like to see as many English players as you can play. You'd like to see the national team thriving and doing well in the World Cup. But is that going to happen? I don't know. I know I've seen it in football. I've played with so many foreign players. At Watford, we had owners who were Italian, and we had Italian players coming in. They're internationals playing for the Watford first team.
Yeah.
And I got to train with these guys, and they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Completely different to the English players. So you can see why it's good to have a good mix.
So so tell us a bit, like, outside of training, what else do you do to better yourself as a player?
I think you gotta. Someone always said, and I can echo it, that football's played in the mind. The body's kind of just done what the body moves off your thoughts. So your mind is the control centre. So you're only as good as your mind. So you've got to keep expanding. You've got to keep learning. So a way to keep expanding the mind related to football, I read a lot of books. So in terms of, I read autobiographies, people that have played the game. Can I learn from them? Can I learn from their mistakes so I don't have to make mistakes myself? I learn things not just in football, away from football, because I think all sports, all jobs, are all connected in the same way. So I'm trying to learn from as many people as I can, so I don't have to, waste time and make the mistakes that I don't need to. Study a lot in the mind and the psychology, because football for me, the reason why a lot of people drop out of the game is all to do with their mindsets, because there are millions of people out there who are fast and stronger. People who are faster and stronger than me who aren't playing football at this moment in time. So the reason why they're not playing football and where I am today, for me, is down to mindset. So I look to kind of study the mind as much as I can.
What other attributes do you think you need to be a footballer, aside from mindset?
Well, you need, you're born with kind of, the genetics play a part in terms of you're born with a physiological threshold of fast twitch muscle fibres. You're going to be born a certain height. So I was lucky that I was born with enough fast twitch muscle fibres where I could really develop. But I've seen kids who haven't had, you have like a threshold at starting there, what you need to have.
Of course.
Because if you don't have many, you can work and increase to here. But that might not, there's kind of like, so, but once you're starting, you know what you have, you can become anything. But you need everything. You can't just accelerate in one domain of football. You need to be fast, strong, athletic, technical, but not just technical on the left, you've got to be technical on the right, the knees, the heads. You've got to cover everything.
But you said you grew up kind of on the smaller side amongst your fellow academy boys, so obviously, like, all this kind of genes, it does matter, but it's not even what the coaches are looking for, because they can't see past the genes. They maybe don't know what your mum and dad are like, they don't know how tall you're going to grow, they don't know what your genes are made up of, so what else is it other than that?
That is interesting, because the amount of kids I've seen drop out or got released with the justification of you're too small.
Yeah.
But then I was seeing kids who are the exact same height as me getting released for saying they're too small, but I was still progressing. So it's not you're too small to play the game. It's they're saying you're too small. You're not being strong enough on the pitch. But they're not related. You can be small and strong.
So you've got to combat that. If you're small, you've got to be faster. You've got to be stronger. Though you're small, you've got to be.
Got to be quicker in the mind. So the kids that are small, you might get knocked off the ball. But if your ball comes into you, you play it off before you get tackled. You're not going to get knocked off the ball. So I learned how to use my body. So the ball comes into me, big player comes in, I put my legs there, I put my arms there. If they go through me, I'm going to free kick. That's football. But then I learnt this from when I was young. My dad taught me all about body position. I had my dad trying to kick me off the ball, I had my brother trying to kick me with my sister. So body position, I put that into my game. So I was very strong in body position. So I catered for me being so small. And then when I did get, when I matured more, the game became easy for me because I learnt this skill when it was at the hardest. So if I could get, if not just me, but if anyone can get through that phase of where genetics play a part, then the game will just become easy for you. But I can see so many people drop out because it gets hard. But if you can hang in that period of where it gets really hard, the game becomes easier from that point. But I don't think people see past that. And don't get me wrong, it is hard. It's one of the hardest things in the world. I've sat at home before, I've been knocked off the ball, and it's a big hit to the ego. You feel like you just want to cry. You don't feel like you're going to be good enough. But getting through those periods are, for me, the foundations of my success today. I'm nowhere near where I want to be right now, and I still want to go higher, but I'm on track, and I know what I need to do.
So, what do you feel like you'd be doing if you wasn't in football?
That's a weird question, because if you start planning for stuff outside of football, then it feels like you're kind of giving yourself an excuse to fail. So I never saw myself doing anything else apart from football. But if someone goes, what else would you enjoy and like to, if I was to live another life, I'd love to be a professional tennis player.
Okay.
And if I wasn't a professional tennis player, I'd like to be a cricketer. I'd always be in the sport route. I play sport all the time. Today we had a day off, and I was in the pool, I was playing squash, and I was doing gym after as well. So I love sports, so I'd always be in sport, but this is all solely just football. And then I want to be a coach as well and help as many people. The help that I didn't get, I want to give to those kids, because for me, we're only judged as what we give back to people. It's not, you're not going to, we're guessing we all come into this world with nothing, we leave with nothing. You're not going to be judged on how many awards you've got, you're going to be remembered by how many people you've helped. So for me, that's my main goal.
Okay. So for the kids that are growing up and maybe in the academies right now, and they want to be professional footballers, they want to progress to the next level, or for the players that are playing Sunday League, do you have any tips on how they could make it?
Yeah, so you get told a lot in football. Growing up as a kid, you get surrounded. You're playing with a lot of people, and it's very hard to stay true to who you are. In terms of, you get told, right, you need to, if you want to progress, you need to become a better dribbler. You need to do step overs. I think social media plays a part. You see people watching all these videos, people doing trick step overs and doing this and doing that, and then kids start to try all this stuff, which is good, it's great. Yeah. But then they get kind of confused on who they are. You got to remember that. Listen, I knew what my strengths were, and I knew what my weaknesses were, and I made my weaknesses my strengths. But I stayed consistent. I studied the game. I knew what I was. I became very obsessive in all domains. I was always seeking to become better, but I didn't change based on someone telling me I was too small or not quick enough. I just carried on working hard. I got told I wasn't going to become a footballer. I got told that multiple times, but it was that consistency I always knew that if I put the work in, I could get to where I want to. Regardless what people tell me, regardless of the amount of setbacks I had, if I put in the hard work, day in, day out, not just when I wanted to, not just when it's hot, when it's cold, when it's wet, when you've had the worst days of your life, I've still turned up, giving my all. So there's that consistent hard work, day in, day out, staying true to who you are. You will doubt yourself a few times along the way. I still have it to this day. I mean, when I came back from my broken leg injury last year, I didn't think I was going to get back in football. I didn't think I was going to hit the level I was before. but it's a process. You've got to go through these stages, and you always get to where you want to get to. You just got to believe that you can and put in the hard work.